Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the fascinating and frankly kind of terrifying mechanics of human memory. We are going to unpack exactly why you might just believe a complete lie without even noticing it. It all comes down to a tiny, almost invisible mental shortcut your brain takes every single day.
So, let's start with a quick fact. Heard once, Napoleon Bonaparte was famously short. We've all heard this, right? It's supposedly why he was so aggressive and power-hungry. I mean, psychologists literally named the Napoleon complex after this exact trait.
Heard twice. Napoleon, notoriously short. It's one of those historical tidbits everyone just kind of knows. You've probably seen the caricatures in history books or heard the jokes in movies. It feels like a rock-solid piece of trivia. Short king, big ego. Now pause right there. Notice what's happening in your brain right at this exact moment. Did that fact feel obviously true to you? As I repeated it, did it settle comfortably into your mind as an undeniable reality? Because I gotta tell you something.
Napoleon was actually about 5'7". That was totally average for a Frenchman of his time. The whole myth merely stemmed from a centuries-old mix-up between French and English measurement units. I just said something completely false to you 3 times in a row. And if it felt even slightly more credible by that 3rd time, well, that's definitely not a coincidence.
The science behind the illusion.
What you just experienced live right there is the illusory truth effect. It's the tendency to believe something is true simply because you've heard it repeated, totally regardless of whether it's actually accurate. Repetition artificially manufactures this feeling of credibility in our brains. You know, our minds are busy, so they look for shortcuts. When we hear something multiple times, it feels familiar, and our brains lazily but efficiently just equate familiarity with truth. And this isn't some new internet age phenomenon. We can trace this back to 1977, when researchers Hasher, Goldstein, and Tapino ran the founding study. They found that repeated trivia statements were consistently rated as more true by participants. Fast forward to a 2010 meta-analysis of over 50 studies, and then again to a major 2015 study by Fazio and colleagues on prior knowledge. For nearly 50 years, studies continue to prove that this is one of psychology's most robust and consistent findings.
Harmless, everyday illusions.
You don't have to be in a lab to see this in action. It's everywhere. Think about advertising slogans and jingles. They're built entirely on this principle. Or family myths like knuckle cracking causes arthritis, or that you lose most of your body heat through your head. Nobody remembers the original source. They just get repeated until they feel like medical science. And of course, there are those unverified claims in your group chats. A rumor gets shared, then reshared, and by the time you see it from a third friend, it feels independently confirmed. But it's not. It's just the exact same unverified claim wearing a different outfit.
The uncomfortable twist.
Now, if you think you're way too smart to fall for this, the data has some pretty bad news. What we assume is that knowledge equals protection. We think, hey, if I know the truth, a repeated lie won't affect me. But the reality? Repetition actually overrides knowledge. That 2015 Fazio study uncovered a crucial point. Even when participants were shown statements they already knew were false, repeating those false statements made people start rating them as more true. The familiar shortcut quietly bypassed the correct answer sitting right there in their own memory.
The manipulators. If human memory has this fundamental vulnerability, we have to look impartially at exactly who is deliberately exploiting it. This tactic is totally nonpartisan. Political messaging across all ideologies relies on repeating slogans to simulate independent agreement. Cults use constant doctrine repetition to manufacture unquestioning certainty. Scams and MLMs repeat scripted income claims to create the illusion of independent confirmation. And today, disinformation networks use automated identical reposts to simulate broad societal agreement. It's not about left or right, it's just a property of human memory being utilized by anyone who understands how it works.
Defending your mind.
Okay, so how do we actually catch this in real time? You can build defensive habits with 4 steps. 1. Ask how many truly independent sources actually exist. 5 reposts of the same tweet is still just one source. 2. Treat that feeling of familiarity as a signal to slow down, not a green light. 3. Check the actual original source, bypassing the repetition entirely. And 4. Be incredibly cautious with claims matching your confirmation bias. When repetition teams up with what you already want to believe, it's a super dangerous trap.
But here is the honest caveat straight from that 2015 Fazio study. Awareness reduces the trap. It doesn't erase it. The real fix isn't just knowledge, it's a habit. Knowing about this bias won't make you fully immune. You have to actively separate the thought, "I've heard this a lot," from the thought, "This has actually been verified." It has to become a daily habit. So as we wrap up today's explainer, let's bring it back to our earlier test. Heard 3 times, and yep, still false. Let this be your ultimate reminder that repetition isn't proof. It just feels like it. Volume simply does not equal validity.
I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. You just heard me confidently explain this bias for the last few minutes. I gave you dates, I gave you names, I cited studies. But have you already started treating these facts as true just because I said them clearly and confidently? Or did you actually stop even once to verify my claims? Protect your mind, check your sources, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.